Today, we're Nia and Shelby, and we'll be presenting a workshop on pre-writing and brainstorming, plus outlining.
Woo! Okay, so I'm gonna get us started. First step is going to be, there we go. We're gonna be acting as kind of your relationship coach. I wanna first give credit to Anita Kianasser, previous tutor and current English 101 teacher for coming up with this activity, not my idea. So we're acting as your relationship coach for thinking about pre-writing. So pre-writing refers to those activities that precede composing a draft. Pre-writing helps us examine what we know, we recall ideas, relate old and new info, assess the reader's expectations, and generally explore the problem from many angles. So the more time you spend on the pre-writing part, the easier writing your essay is going to be. So why do we do pre-writing? Pre-writing techniques, which we're going to be speed dating today to try to find love with one of them. They help writers solve a rhetorical problem through various solutions. Like I said, the more time that we spend on a pre-writing strategy, the more successful the paper is going to be. Therefore, drafting becomes more productive because we're less focused on creating ideas from scratch and are free to discover new topics as the words appear on the page. I'm sure we've all just tried to write a paper just thinking about the idea from the very first time as we're writing the draft, and don't want to do that to ourselves. It's a lot easier to think it through before you start writing and have your ideas kind of written out and then break it down. So our speed date today, the three kinds of pre-writing strategies that we're going to be looking at, is a cluster map. That's where you jot ideas into bubbles to organize your thoughts. We're also going to look at free writing, which is exactly what it sounds like, writing anything that comes to mind. Doesn't have to be perfect sentences. Don't worry about grammar. Just writing things down. You can do bullet points. So you can write all over the page. And then heuristics, which is essentially just a problem-solving strategy. We're going to be using questions. So you answer the following questions. We'll show you on a future slide, and compose effective papers. So these don't have to be definitive. They should lead to more questions for you to be thinking about as you go ahead and start answering the prompt in your paper. So how this is going to work, you can go ahead in the next slides and pause and then spend about 5 minutes trying each pre-writing strategy. So we'll do the first brainstorming technique. Do as much as you can in 5 minutes, set a timer, pause the video. After the timer goes off, we'll switch into the next pre-writing strategy, and then keep going until we finish all three, thinking about as you go through what's the most successful for you, what works the best. So we're going to go ahead and get some started. If you have paper, you can pull that up. You can pull up a thing on your laptop, on your phone, wherever works best for you to write. So the first pre-writing strategy is the free write. So for 5 minutes, go ahead, set a timer, just free write on a blank piece of paper, on a blank doc on your phone, about your topic, whatever your prompt is, have that in front of you. Just spend 5 minutes writing down whatever comes to mind. So take 5 minutes, pause the video, come back. We'll see you in a sec. Okay, now we're going to switch to the next one. So now that you've free write, what might be a good transition into our next one, which is the pre-writing cluster. You can even go ahead and circle some things on your free writing paper that you did that might end up going in these bubbles. So the pre-writing cluster, you see the big circle in the middle, that's your thesis statement. What is your main idea? What's your main argument? What is the main answer to the question that your paper prompt is posing? And then we've got the three smaller oval bubbles. Those are your topic sentences, basically three main body paragraph ideas. And from that, you've got tiny circles that go off of each of those. What kind of evidence would that you put in each of those little paragraphs? So this is a place to test out ideas that you maybe came up with in the first one. So go ahead and start by putting your tentative thesis statement in the biggest circle, and then branch out and see what other ideas you find. So go ahead and take 5 minutes, pause the video, try this one. You can make bubbles yourself, or screenshot this and print it out. Any of those things work. It's probably on Google Images as well if you want to just find your own and print it out. But take 5 minutes and try that. Okay, we're going to switch into the next one. So the last technique is heuristics questions for pre-writing. So we came up with some example questions. If you think of others, you can go ahead and answer them. So we've got questions like, what were your initial feelings about your subject, your main experiences, how has your experience changed, how do others talk about your subject, keeping things like audience in mind, what have you talked about with other people. If you have an intended audience for this work, pretty much every essay does, even if it's not mentioned directly. What might your audience be expecting? What details can you include that's going to help you get to your points? How would you explain this to a friend or a family member? Thinking about, again, your audience, different people that you would talk to, and personal aspects that make your subject unique. Why are you picking the direction you're picking? So we're keeping these really open-ended so that you can come up with lots of different answers, whatever works best for you. So go ahead, take 5 minutes, try to answer all the questions or just some of them, whatever worked best for your prompt. So go ahead and set a timer and try that out. Okay, we're gonna bring it back. So now that you've done all 3 of those pre-writing strategies, we've done some speed dating. Think about now what worked best for you. Hopefully from this you can kind of take away the best strategy that fits your writing technique, your writing style. You can feel free to do these 3 things when you do other papers in the future, or just pick one. So thinking about that, we're then gonna have Niyyah move into the next segment. There we go.
Okay, the fun segment. Okay, so this is outlining, which is not nearly as aesthetically pleasing as speed dating was. But the difference between outlining and brainstorming is the idea is that by the time you outline, you have at least a good idea of what you want to talk about in this paper, and it's more focusing on organizing and how you want to have these ideas displayed in your paper. So another example going back to the speed dating would be like a cluster map, but now it's just vertical. And so this is your stereotypical outline format. It's very sterile. It's very blank. And so if you're somebody who like this does not really work for me because it's a little too blank, it doesn't really allow me the creative flow that you might require to write this paper. So I've provided a better version, which is mine. But an alternative version to this where we took the basic format, like spending a lot more on this. So for example, in the stereotypical format, you have your introduction, and they typically tell you to do a hook / attention grabber, and then kind of like your thesis. But for this one, we did a hook and attention grabber, which is really just to say like, this paper is interesting, read it. And that's the attention grabber for the reader. And then you want to talk about your purpose. So why are you writing your essay? What is the purpose of this paper? Background information on like what the reader needs to know in order to follow the arguments presented in your body paragraphs. And then finally your thesis, which is very stereotypical about your papers and all the formatting. And then we also talked about body paragraphs and the way that that's formatted. The format for body paragraphs on this outline can be repeated for as many body paragraphs as you need to convey your argument. And then the last one is conclusion, which restating previous arguments. And this is also in conjunction with whether or not you feel you need to restate your thesis. The idea behind these ones or this outline format is more autonomy for the writer and more autonomy for you to convey your ideas without the sterile and very dehumanizing way of like typical outlines. So that is the outline format and really the only fun part of this entire thing. And vote. Okay, if you're watching this, vote in the comments which one is better.
There we go.
And then that's it. Thank you for coming to our workshop or watching our workshop. If you have any questions, go to the Writing Center and you can find us as tutors. We're at the very main. And that's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.